Practice and repetition. It's not always the most fun thing in the world to do, but it's something that we as musicians must do, whether it's instrumentally or vocally. And it carries over to a lot of other things. Yes, math, science, history, and English. We need to practice things to get good at them. Sometimes we need to do them a lot. Both of my children were USA swimmers, swam from the time they were 4 or 5 years old all the way through high school and into college. They spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in the pool. I know, because I was sitting there watching them, as well as in competitions, doing 4 fundamental strokes over and over again for thousands of hours. And that's what helped them to be so good at it. Myself, as a drummer, I've been drumming for decades and decades and decades, and I still need to practice. But what I do is I try to make sure that my practicing is efficient, is correct. Again, I talk a lot with my drummers, but it also applies to every other musical instrument. Flute, with your posture, your fingering, your wrist position. Trumpet, with the hand position. Clarinet, covering the holes and going across the break, the infamous challenge on clarinet. Saxophone, making sure you're holding properly and able to produce those low notes by a low, slow airflow. My saxophone players know what I'm talking about there. All the different things we do. Violinists, making sure that the bow motion is good. And of course, the drummers. So it comes down to sheer repetition. It isn't always the most exciting thing. And fortunately, our lesson books have practice CDs often to go along with them. I know Mr. Palmentieri's created dozens and dozens of videos to go along with our lesson books. One of the ways to practice is to give yourself a little extra motivation. Now, when I was in college, I had an amazing music theory professor who trained at the Paris Conservatory of Music back in the 1940s. And she said her teacher would take 10 pennies and put them in a stack on top of the piano and would play something very complicated. And each time she did it correctly, she took 1 penny and moved it over. She insisted that you had to do it 10 times correctly without any mistakes in between. And if you move those pennies over each time and you got to time number 10 and you messed up, all the pennies went back in the pile and you started over again. Pretty obsessive way to do it, but of course it does lead to excellence. Now, I'm a big fan of fruit snacks. So, if I want to play a pattern and do it well and do it correctly, perhaps I'll take my fruit snacks. Let's see how many I have in here. Uh-oh, I have a lot. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Go figure, 13 in a pack? Well, we're going to change that up a little bit. And we're going to put them in groups of 2. You know, 1 for each side of your mouth. And then my bonus group will have 3. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. I want to practice something and play something. I'm just going to come up with something off the top of my head. And if I can do it right, I'll award myself with my fruit snacks. Let's see how well I do. That's 1. 2. 3. Uh-oh. I hit my 6 together. I gotta start over. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. Let's go for 1 more. Now, it's a great way to reward yourself. Of course, if we were here at school, I'd be throwing fruit snacks at you guys all the time. But it's a cool little way to motivate yourself and give yourself a goal, a yummy goal in this case. But the idea being, hold yourself to a high standard. Playing something 1 time correctly, well, that's good. Playing it a bunch of times correctly means you really know how to play it, and that 1 time wasn't just a fluke. So Practicing, I think it's important to set aside a certain time of the day and a certain space to have for practicing, whether it's a quiet place, an isolated place. I know some of our choir members are practicing in the closet because it's the quietest place they can find. I love you guys for that dedication. But wherever you practice, make that your space. No siblings, moms, dads, aunts, uncles, farm animals bothering you at the time. And create a practice regimen, practice in the same space, and try to practice every day. My normal recommendation is 30 minutes a day for beginning and intermediate musicians. And as you improve, you really should lengthen your practice time because the challenges should be rising. If everything's easy, you aren't challenging yourself enough. So, I'm going to have some fruit snacks now. You have a great day.